Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming, all our visitors. Thank you. Yeah, great to see our new CEO, Malcolm here. Thank you. So, all right. Any apologies? Apologies. We have Stuart Wright for public forum. Stuart's going to speak to us. I don't know what about, but come forward, Stuart. And pull the microphone to you.
Yeah, thanks, Pat. I come along today just information. What a group of us are going to do at the end of the year is we'd like to do another community Christmas in the park. We've had a couple of meetings, volunteers, and we are going to do it straight after the parade on December the 6th. And we're going to do it down at the showgrounds there, probably starting about 2 o'clock straight after the parade. And it'll go till about 8:30 at night. We've decided, not like last year, we won't do carols by candlelight, it's too late. But we'll finish off with carols, probably about 7:30. The Viking Choir are going to help out with that. So it's just information, let people know here. We are working at the moment with the two Buffies and Roz who are in charge of the parade. We want to work in with them. I think the aim could be, hopefully, that some of the floats, I don't know how we do it with traffic safety and all that, but they could come down to the showground straight away. But we'd like to start at 2 o'clock with a fancy dress parade for all the young ones. We want to encourage them to get dressed up for the parade and come down at 2 o'clock. And we'll have a tabloid sports. Santa comes on the helicopter at about 5:30, and we're going to have a karaoke as well. A Name That Tune competition, and it's in the boot rather than in the bag, where they pick chockies or a prize sponsored by people from Dannevirke. 20-minute sketches or singing. We've got about 6 so far, but we're open up to anybody else who would like to do it. So, information, I think.
Thanks, Stuart. Have we got any questions for Stuart? Any?
Do we think the committee needs any help with funding?
Sorry, I missed that, sorry.
Do you think the committee needs any help with funding from the community board?
Can we...
help with funding?
Yeah.
Oh, is it working? Yeah. Yes, if possible, absolutely. We're at the moment seeking sponsorship, but anything the community board can help us with will be fantastic. From prizes, advice with traffic safety, probably things like that, but prizes, we've got, the showgrounds isn't costing us anything. We're going to have a market day there, charging $25 a stall. Funds for that will go for grandparents raising grandkids. The gates are going to be manned or policed by the junior cricket because they want to fundraise for their summer camp. But no, certainly anything that you could come up with will be great. Decorating the stage, we're going to have sponsorship, competitions, probably prizes. Anybody here, like Tracy and Pat did last year, can sing with cones on the head. That would go down really well. Anyway, but thanks, Ernie. I'm not aware if there is stuff I could ask for here, but I certainly would be appreciative.
Any further questions? No. Thanks, Stuart. Thanks for coming in, and yeah, you're quite welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting or whatever you want to do.
I'm on the radio now. I think I better go there since somebody else can't do it today. So thank you. Cheers.
Thank you very much, Jim. Right, any items not on the agenda? Yeah, Ron?
It's coming up in the minutes, but just to make sure we know about the speed out at the Kuriko Popper. But hopefully we'll talk about that before we get to that. Thank you.
Can we also hear what's happening with the Smith Street sign that's still not working?
Yeah.
And can we discuss the new rates that have come out, the invoices and some of the targeted rates. I'd like some explanation at some stage. If we can have an answer at the next meeting, if we manage to be here. But yeah, there's a few items like that, and also where the state of the footpaths are.
Any conflicts of interest?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to declare a conflict of interest with the application for funding from both the Lamison Trust and Friends of the Domain at today's meeting.
Yeah, I'd like to put forward a conflict of interest on one of the discretionary funds for the police, where a cousin of mine has put in for it, Maxine Walsh. Whether that deserves a conflict of interest, we'll sort that out. Ron?
Yeah, and I'd like to put one in for the Dannevirke Bowling Club. I'm a member, so to let you know.
Okay, confirmation of minutes of the last meeting. Someone move that they be a true and correct record, please.
I'll move in that direction, Mr. Chairman.
You, Jerry, seconder? Yeah. Thanks, Ernie. Right,
Can we have, we're going to have some discussion on those minutes?
yeah, unless you want to bring it up. And, yeah, away you go.
I'm just wondering if we're going to turn that town hall sign off or not. If it's illegal for it to be running, why hasn't it been turned off?
Can we leave that till we might have a bit of information about that? So I move the extraordinary meeting held on the 27th of August of the council be received, please. Move. Thanks, Ron. Thanks, Erin. Any questions on that?
Yeah, can we have some clarification that the interim CEO at the time, was that for the whole duration of this report, or did our new man, Malcolm, that's turned up, take over partway through? I'm a little bit confused with the report.
Tracy?
Thanks, Chair Pat. No, I can confirm the interim chief executive that signed the local water done well off was Peter Wimser, who had been involved within local water done well right throughout. So it certainly wasn't the current interim CEO, Malcolm Alexander.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yep. What was on page 17, it says here that there's $250,000 that the council received for interim funding. What will that be spent on?
Tracy?
Thanks. That funding was through from the Department of Internal Affairs towards the project director for local water done well, Wairarapa Taurua.
Management report. Someone move that be received. I'll move that. Do I have a seconder, please? Yeah, thanks, Aaron. Andrew, would you like to come forward and talk to us about Otanga Road?
Thank you. Do you want me to specifically talk about the full management report or the Otanga Road? You got me on a bit of a hop there. I suppose this is the ICCM report that's in the document, which is yet to be presented to the council meeting. That's going through on Thursday. But if there's any specific questions about those topics in there, If there's not, I'll jump onto the update for Rotanga.
Like I mentioned before, on page, let's see, 5.2 on page 25, this transport management overview. The one that I mentioned about the speed zone update. I've been in, Kura Kaupapa has been in contact with me, and they said that they've been in contact with the council. That's all good. But how's things working out with that? Have you got any information I can take back to them?
So the consultation for that closes on the 18th.
Correct.
The feedback we've received to date has been positive for these changes. There is a bit of a split between, for the Te Kura Kaupapa, between a couple of different options, and right now I can't, I suppose until that consultation closed, we won't talk about it, but essentially it's looking positive for a speed zone change. There's been no negative feedback against any of the changes that have been put forward yet.
Through you, Chairman Pat, I'd like the community board to get on board to put in a submission before the 18th, please.
With regards to the Otonga Road project, it's been ongoing that the conditions of the site were really wet. Why weren't the trees removed?
So which specific trees are you talking about?
The pine trees on the slip.
So some of them have been removed. There's been visibility, we've created visibility through the site, but there's a debate whether pulling out the trees accelerates the land movement versus, I suppose, speeding it up or slowing it down. And we've taken out, I suppose, the ones that were looking as, I suppose, the vulnerable ones. I do have some pictures, but very brief, so it probably doesn't, which I might just bring up now so you can.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to ask Andrew a couple of questions. Page 24, local road pothole prevention. I note that going around the district that potholes on some roads are sort of getting larger. What is the legal liability if an accident is caused due to potholes?
So from my understanding is if they've been notified within a certain period, there's a response period. The NZTA are targeting a 24-hour response for potholes that have been notified. That is a change in our level of service provided for the district. So it needs to be it doesn't need to be implemented now, but we're working towards achieving that target. Essentially, that comes down to funding and how much resource we want to apply to patrol activities to fix potholes. And you appreciate that the size of the district, it is quite difficult to respond in 24 hours to it's not difficult, it's pretty cost inefficient to respond to some of our rural potholes in the out by the coast in that time frame, but we would get the requests through. So the basic CRM systems, we will respond to them as they come in.
So the question is that, like, if somebody incurs an accident to their vehicle due to hitting one of these potholes at speed, are we liable? Is council liable?
I'll have to come back to you on that. I'm not sure myself, but Hamish, would you?
Good morning, everybody. Through you, Chair Pat. Thanks for the question. Look, I think that there's, in terms of the liability, it depends on whether we know about the pothole or not. So because a pothole can develop within 5 hours if it's raining, we can't be expected to hold liability for things we don't know about. And so certainly if there's a CRM, the clock starts ticking for us. And the guys are generally pretty quick in terms of potholes once they know about them. So that's kind of how NZTA has rolled in the past as well. So we certainly wouldn't accept liability for something we don't know about.
Gracie?
Thanks, Hamish.
Thanks. Sorry, Chair Pat, can I just ask a question of clarification to Board Member Hines? Are you referring to vehicle damage or are you referring to an accident caused by that? And I only asked
I'm
that.
referring to vehicle damage. If you hit one of these potholes, and some of them are sort of starting to grow at speed, particularly with a small vehicle, you could, incur serious damage, A, to tyres and B, to suspension of the vehicles. Sorry, through you, Mr. Chairman, once again to, I guess, Andrew. Andrew, can you give any update on on page 25 of the report, 5.2, Transport Network Management Overview? Is there any update on the state of repair for the alternate routes that were in place prior to the new road opening? Where are we at with that?
So we're currently developing the work program for the upcoming season, construction season. Essentially, we've split the work over 2 seasons with pre-reseal repairs happening this financial year and then reseals happening next year. We are reviewing the scope, basically the agreement with NZTA. We're yet to actually get the signed memorandum of understanding. So right now it's a holding period until we get that in place. That basically enables the funding for the work to commence. But yeah, essentially we're refining the scope to making sure we're getting the right repairs for the vehicle traffic that we're seeing on some of the roads right now, particularly the Saddle Road. We don't want to overinvest in the Saddle Road when, say, it's got such a reduction in traffic.
What is your view on the general state of repair of both the track and the saddle?
So I drove over the Saddle.
As that takeover?
I drove over the Saddle on the weekend, and it's in a pretty good condition. Actually, it's probably better than what we took it over. There's been some pile repairs for the flaking of the surfacing that had come off over the period, but in general it's a pretty good state. I haven't been over the Paitua track recently or the Balance Road, but last time I did there was 1 or 2 patches that are being managed until we get the funding. But essentially the repairs that are happening right now, we're putting them into the suspense account to be able to fund when we get the MOU in place.
Could I just add that we're very close with the MOU. We've just got one last little land legalisation component to work through, and then we're good to go. So yeah, it's all but there. Just about sorted.
Benny?
So on page 24, it's saying that you're going to carry over $1.7 million to this financial year. Surely with the conditions of the potholes that we've got around the district, that should have been spent by the end of the year. Can you explain why the money hasn't been utilised?
So last financial year, the work program was established at a time when we didn't have the NLTP funding approved. So we had a relatively lighter transport reseal and rehab program. We fortunately got the full request for rehabilitations and reseals. So essentially, rather than rushing into doing the rehabilitation work, we had a light year in year 1 for the 3-year block, a bigger year in year 2 and a bigger year in year 3. So we're basically building up to it. Yes, essentially it came down to the NLTP funding. The way that NZTA phased the funding, they just did it on a purely percentage basis based on the total funding divided by 3, whereas we had budgeted our phased approach based on inflation. And the difference between that carry forward is what was in the NZTA account versus what was in our Fort Works program.
I just wanted to ask, I did notice that potholes have been done a little bit different, and it seems, so instead of just filling the pothole, just the hole, they've been putting quite a big area over the top. Is that part of the pothole prevention standards? I just see that it seems to be lasting a lot better than what they were before.
So there is, I suppose we have been trying a few different methodologies that have come about through the pothole prevention push across the country. The repairs that have been done, I suppose you might have seen a bit of advertising around the patches that have been put down and where they put multiple patches down there. That is quite an expensive fix comparative to just the standard repair. But what we're doing, I suppose, is to try and, stretch the funding a little bit further on certain areas. So high stress intersections, for example, we will be using, we're looking to use some of the patches if it makes sense. We've done a few trials in the yard, in our own yard, just to see how they perform. And what we found is the standard asphalt patch lasts longer than some of the advertised sort of bells and whistles, ones that have been promoted on the news. Just one thing with the pothole prevention fund, it's termed that, but it's actually essentially about pavement maintenance and drainage maintenance. So there's a big, it's not just fixing potholes, it's about doing more reseals to waterproof the surface, it's doing more rehabilitations to give us strength back in the surface, it's extra investment in culverts and water tabling. So that program is coming through in this next financial year. But yeah, the terminology pothole prevention is potholes are not just the treatment that we're looking for. So, yeah.
Bernie?
That was going to be my next question, actually, but Andrew, thanks for explaining that. So water tabling and grading maintenance is all in that budget that we're talking about.
Now, this is a question I get asked every day, and that is, how many people does it take to fix a pothole? Now, you're going to probably say depending on the pothole, but is there a formula? Because, let's be honest, you come around the corner and there could be 3, there could be 5, and there could be a lot more. So what would you being me, what would be the answer to that question, please?
It's probably the same number as how many it takes to change a light bulb. Correct. Yeah. I suppose it's case by case, really. There's when crews are sent out to do pothole repairs, they're not just doing pothole repairs. They'll be doing all sorts of other things at the same time. And at the time, you might see them fixing a pothole. So there might be 1 or 2 people that are monitoring traffic, managing traffic, but the next job they move on to may be something completely different. Sometimes they do them on the way to another work site and an activity. So, like I say, case by case, if they're in an intersection, they'll have more people there monitoring traffic. If it's a standalone road, just a patrol activity, there might be 1 person. So it's not a one answer, I suppose, question.
You, Chairman Pat, so to add to that, you're quite happy of the policy you've got for the way the potholes are fixed with the number of staff that do it, correct?
Through you, Chair Pat, I'll take a crack at this one. So I guess the good thing about the Alliance and the way the Alliance works is that they price up the cost of a pothole every year and then they try and beat it. So actually for the Alliance, it's in their interest to try and do a pothole as cheap as possibly, because that's where the benefit comes at the end of the year, where whatever's left between the difference of what they thought they were going to spend and what they actually spent, that's the bonus. So I take comfort in the fact that they could take 10 people out there, and if they happen to do it cheaper than they thought they were going to do it, the price that we accepted at the start of the year, then actually the communities come out better off because they've done a couple of extra potholes for the same amount of money.
Now you opened up a can of worms because cheaply, you mentioned the word cheaply. I always believe in quality never goes out of style. And if you've got to go back and fix it again and again because you did it cheaply, then the ratepayers have another good go at you. Hey, that pothole's come back. So what do we do there? Do we patch and fix or just carry on the way we are and keep getting the criticism that we're getting in the community? Thank you.
Certainly agree with that, and that's why we track the rework that's done on the network, and that gets assessed at the end of the year against the Alliance's performance. So that's whittling away at that benefit. So really it's in their interest to do the right thing the first time as well. But remembering, of course, that pothole repairs are a very temporary measure. They're not there to actually fix the problem. They're there to hold it until the proper repair can be done. So a pothole repair may last hours, it may last days, it may last weeks, or if we're lucky, months. But it's not there to fix the problem generally.
So you're now saying that patch and repair, what is there an average time on how long a patch goes? I suppose then you'll come up and say, depending on the traffic that's going over it. But, let's face it, we've seen a lot of places around the district, they're forever patching, but never get to finish the final repair. That's what I get told, and I'll be honest, I've seen it. I'm not pulling the wool over anyone's eyes. You only have to ride around the district. But in saying that, the RAP goes back to Alliance because they've got the contract to provide a service of a certain standard. So everyone's happy with the standard, obviously.
Yes, yeah, we're well audited, and we have high-speed data collected every year that tracks how the performance of the network's doing. Roughness and surface texture and that sort of thing is generally on the improve. So at the network level, yep, they're managing it. Certainly there's repairs that take a while to get to at an isolated level, but yeah, they're doing more work than they ever have in the past, so they're getting through a lot.
So, sorry, Andrew.
So on the basis for permanent repairs, what largely drives our pavement repairs is the reseal program. So with the reseal program sets the agenda for basically where the, put in the terminology of weatherboards on your house. So when you've got a weatherboard on your house, you're applying a coat of paint every 10 years or something to keep the moisture out. Every now and then you'll get a weatherboard that'll start rotting down and start deteriorating. When the pothole is basically putting a skim of paint over top of it just to protect that bit for the short term until you're ready to say cut out that piece of board or bulk it up, for example. A pothole essentially is, as Hamish said, a temporary patch. Then when our work program is established around the reseal program, and that drives our pavement maintenance, the patching, the cement stabilising the digouts. Essentially, we've got a matrix in there, basically 1 to 4 scoring system, which is a priority 1 fault is we know something's there, so there might be a bit of minor cracking. If we've got work in this facility, you might seal up that minor cracking to waterproof it. Then there's priority 2, which essentially is there's movement in the pavement and you know something that's starting to deteriorate more rapidly. And then priority 3 is, this is now on our intervention list, the priority 3 faults that we've got essentially has we've got a target to try and treat them within 12 months, driven around the reseal program. So we get the most optimal repair when we're doing it in bulk work. So jumping from repair to repair to repair, like a pothole repair, for example, isn't the most optimum. And if we do that, we're probably going to triple the cost of those repairs. So within that period, the reseals, you follow that round. The reseals do the waterproofing. So you might get away with filling a pothole and getting a reseal over it, and it might waterproof it and it disappears. So when the treatment happens is largely dictated around when it's the most optimal time, which is around the pre-reseal repairs. So pre-reseal repairs are happening right now. It's generally post-winter. We've got we start in, I suppose, July and then push that through to October, and then October starts the reseals. And so it's basically just the annual cycle that we go through. And so, I suppose we're following right now. We're getting ahead of all the reseals right now. So all the pre-reseal repairs are doing. A lot of those faults are the ones that has probably started flagging out right now, and they'll be done. And then the next year's program is starting to be developed on top of that. So it's just the annual cycle. Sometimes you'll get a pothole that happens over there, and that might get patched temporarily, and it might get patched temporarily until it fits in that cycle, because we have our current annual rate of reseal is sitting at about 6.4%. So that's of the whole network. So the 1,300 kilometres, we're achieving about 226 kilometres per every 3 years. So it does take a bit to go around the district, and sometimes those random ones will pop out. So I suppose it's the random ones that we're talking about that we're trying to prevent them from falling apart completely before. Yeah.
Through you, Chairman Pat. So in layman's terms, I'm better off to say to anybody after those 4 stages that you've just met or mentioned, look, you just tell the people of the district, give it 12 months and it'll get fixed. And at the end of the day, that's what you've just said in a roundabout way, isn't it?
Depends on the severity. If it gets to the point that it's unsafe, that it needs to get fixed within essentially as soon as we can. And that generally is within the next month's program. But if it's immediately safe and high risk, it'll get treated as soon as we're aware of it.
A safe answer would be 12 months, depending on the status. Thank you.
Yeah, and
So with my 40 years of contracting experience, I've learnt that the main thing that causes the damage to roads is the water, keeping the water off the roads. Back in early January this year, I was heading to a job at Markuri through Wairahura Road. You had a wonderful team of 4 young people patching potholes, and it's the most energetic crew that I've ever seen. The workmanship was totally outstanding, but that they were travelling from your Wanganui depot to go to Waitahora Road. Now, can you reassure us that you're going to use your local fellas from now on?
So essentially, the crews that are assigned to these projects are based on their skill set. The target cost, obviously, that Hamish mentioned before, is the key driver beyond the cost to complete. So whether they're coming from Wanganui or whether they're coming from Paetua, the cost that's hitting the actual contract is the same. So we're not paying for travel to get them across here. And it might have been the case that without knowing the specific situation, the Wanganui Flowcon, which is the hot mix truck that's available, is the crew that comes around and they do circuits around essentially the Lower North Island doing repairs for it. So they might have, for all I know, they were doing hot mix bund creation, and at the time they might have done some repairs at the same time as well. So without knowing the specific circumstance, I can't really answer that directly, but yeah.
Okay, I'd like to look back through my diary and explain what day it was, but it was on the middle section of Waitahora Road. So there was all it was shingle, plate compactor. The team was doing an amazing job, but they had to be back in the yard in Wanganui at 5 o'clock at night. So if you can reassure me that the Tararua ratepayers aren't getting charged for the travelling time, I'm as happy as Larry.
Any other questions? No? Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Hamish.
Mr Chairman, can I just ask a question of you? The Tararua District Council report, did we go through that? Item 7 on our agenda, was that approved? If it was...
That's what we... Management report.
No, not the management report, the Tararua District Council report to Tararua District Council 7.1.
Under which one? Oh. Tararua District Council report.
Yes.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, you.
Just if it was possible, I'd just like to ask some questions on the water well done,
Yep.
if I can get permission.
You go ahead.
Right. I'm not sure whether I can level this at Mayor Tracy or Acting CE Malcolm. One of the questions that we get asked frequently, of course, is with the formation of the new water entity, what is going to be the effect on our rates? Once we transfer the assets from council to the water well done entity, what is going to happen to that? Well, we know what's going to happen to the asset that will go to the new entity, but with the transfer of that asset, what is going to be the effect on the rates for our ratepayers? That's the first question.
First of all, good morning, everyone. Nice to see you. Look, I can deal with that pretty straightforwardly. So you are a member, Tararua District Council will be a shareholding member of the establishment of a Wairarapa Tararua Water Services Council controlled organisation, or WISCO, a company essentially. You'll be a shareholder of that. Currently, Council's working with it, both taking its own separate advice, which I've commissioned to ensure Tararua's community's property rights are properly protected and governed within the agreement. You have submitted as you are required, we're required to do by the 3rd of September, a water services delivery plan to the Department of Internal Affairs that's now with them. It's, all things being equal, it's highly likely to be approved in my view, at which case Section 22 of the Preliminary Arrangements Act kicks in and you are required to implement that plan. Under that plan, a company will be established. My understanding from the papers I was reading last week, it'll be stood up as an entity by 1 July next year, in which case there'll be a board appointed. That board, I would think in due course, would appoint a management team, starting with the chief executive, and then over that next year up to 1 July 2027, it will then take operational control of the assets. So during that period, from essentially now, we will agree a shareholders agreement, we'll agree the company constitution, and the process for asset transfer will commence. Once the company, the Wisco, whatever you ultimately call it, but say Wairarapa Tararua, a water company at the moment, the decisions on operational and governance control of all things related to Three Waters, I understand it's a Three Waters company, including stormwater, will be made by the board of the company. The board of the company will be under a duty to do two fundamental things. First of all, it will be required to ensure that there is revenue adequacy in terms to meet the requirements to maintain the network and to deal with growth as that occurs. So there'll be no underfunding. Secondly, there will be revenue certainty. In other words, the money I need to get in, I will get. Okay, and so essentially that'll be an individual house or business will be a water consumer, a consumer of water infrastructure services. Water per se is not part of this, that's a matter for the Crown. We're dealing with the cost and the delivery of water infrastructure services. That will be priced. It will be priced ultimately, probably by volumetric pricing through meters. And I think not everyone has meters at different parts of the country, but inevitably that's where it will go for a number of reasons. One, it gives a demand management tool to consumers to know how much they're consuming, and once they know that, they can modify their consumption. You saw that happen when Kapiti Coast brought it in, and it also has major advantages from an asset management point of view. You understand where your leaks are, for example. You can therefore generally have a better view on how you manage your network going forward, and you can actually defer substantial capex, and again that happened in Kapiti. Prior to water metering or volumetric pricing, and I don't know that the board will do that of the company, I just think it's highly likely that they will do that. Indeed, every water company is highly likely to do that, even where some councils have chosen to go in-house. In my view, that's a temporary measure that will eventually change. Prior to that, they can use the rating mechanism to raise funds. And the rates that they will require will be that necessary to give them revenue adequacy and revenue certainty. Through rates, obviously, you do get revenue certainty, but ultimately that'll transition out. In terms of the pricing, that will I'm not across it, but I assume that modelling was done in order to determine financial sustainability. For the ones I've been involved with several across the country. By and large, price will go up over time. That essentially addresses historic underinvestment in the networks. Not everywhere. Some have been good stewards of their assets, so it depends. My understanding, I haven't got the details in front of me, my understanding is the price path for Tararua, indeed for the Wairarapa, will trend up over time. You were required under your water services delivery plan to do 10-year modelling through to 2034. Do you know, Hamish, what the number was for that 10-year mark? No. Okay, so what that number, if there's a difference in 2034 between the price per property now then and what it is now, that essentially is a price rise, even accounting for CPI. So there's probably is going to go up, but I don't know. I'd have to check, but all things being equal, I'm not aware of anywhere in the country where the price is going down. Okay, and the reason for that essentially is the state of infrastructure in the Three Waters is not a good one. And therefore it has to be addressed. Water is a fundamental issue from a health and environmental point of view. And so, yes, long story short, I would anticipate price rises for a water consumer in the Tararua district, probably over time. Now, how that transpires over that 10-year period sort of depends on your price path. So I was working with one council, for example, where the pricing was seen to be relatively static for about the first 5 years. And then after 5 years, it started what we call a price delta was there where it gets much higher. Because that would be based on their capex program about what they were proposing to do and when, the assets may require renewal at that point and so on and so forth. So it's all interlinked. long story being short, price will go up, and and that will create affordability issues in some areas, which is why the government will be looking to see that there's a concomitant reduction in non-water related rates from councils across the country. In other words, they will be looking to see, I would imagine, that where the waters transfers out of direct rating control for a council over to a water entity of some sort, in your case a joint CCO, the water element of the rates outside of the council got water dropped. So there'll be a comp. So that's how that balances out as part of the work to be done over the next couple of years. In fact, in my view, we'll have to start that for the annual plan to get ready for it, and the LTP.
Thank you, Malcolm. Just one further
complicated,
question. What are your views, I guess, during due diligence before an agreement was made to amalgamate with Wairarapa neighbours? What is the view on managing and maintaining water treatment in our smaller communities? Is this a viable option, or should we not be looking at water tanks in some of these areas?
Again, I'm not a water engineer. In general principle terms, the water company, the WISCO, will need to meet the requirements of law, both from a health perspective and an environmental perspective. It will make a judgment whether, either new wastewater plants or extending plants or maintaining plants is the best thing to do. Whether a person from a drinking water perspective can go onto a tank may depend. There will always be fixed costs that you have to maintain. If a pipe's running past your house, for example, there's a fixed cost you'll have to contribute to because the pipe's there, you're available to connect. From a waste perspective, if you're, for example, using septic tanks, for example, there may be environmental concerns around that, around leakage and all that sort of thing. So those things be in the balance, and they'll be for the company to determine. Ultimately, the board will determine that on advice from its management team. It will always, in my view, be determined by the facts of an individual case. Okay, so it's difficult to generalise. Yeah.
And you say, or the organisation says, that the organisation will be legally established on or before July 2026.
Yes.
What happens between July 26 and July 27? Is that setting up the infrastructure?
My understanding is that the target date to establish the company as a formal legal entity with a board, etc., will be 1 July next year. Yeah. In that period, the board will then manage a process to transfer assets directly from each individual council shareholder to it. And the councils will have governance oversight through their shareholding, through their and the arrangement between themselves through the shareholders agreement and the general rules that apply to governing a company. What will one of my first things that I've focused on since I've got into the seat, ensuring that Taurua is getting value, that it's an appropriate share of the value at risk, and it's being calculated by connections. So my understanding, you're in the vicinity of 23%, which seems reasonable. And then the shareholders agreement, which is still being negotiated between the four councils, will have reserve power issues around which require all shareholders to agree, and so on and so forth. But operational governance will rest with the company.
Yeah. Thank you, Al.
And just to re-emphasise, it will now happen once Section 22 kicks in, which is imminent. Every council who has put in a water service delivery plan that is approved, and I understand from government media statements most will be approved based on what they've seen, is then every council is under that legal obligation to implement what was submitted. It's Section 22. Yeah.
Ernie?
So Malcolm, can I have some clarification on, once this new identity is created, as long as there's a water service or a water main available to be connected adjacent to your property, you have to pay a contribution, is that right? Or
obviously, pricing methodology that a company will use will be for it to determine within the bounds of law. But, I come from an infrastructure business, and, where there are fixed assets that are available for use, you generally pay a fixed fee for those. And then the other part generally is a variable fee. So if you think of that in terms of just say drinking water, which is the easy one, if a main is going past your front door and you are connected, you'll pay a fee for the connection, and then through volumetric pricing and fullness of time, you'll pay a fee for what you use. Okay. If you disconnect from the system and you are able to do so, remember there are rules around these sorts of things. It is water and health related, but let's assume you can do that. You'll nonetheless be able to connect if you want to. So while you may avoid the variable pricing, you'll probably still be liable for the fixed pricing, because you can connect if you wish, and if you sell your house, the next person will want to connect, probably. Yep.
Carrying on from that, there's a lot of people that don't like the water now it's got fluoride in it.
That's another problem though.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So we still have to pay for the opportunity to have it on tap.
It's likely to be the case where you're on a network or a member of a network, yes. What the rules around what's in water is completely outside of Three Waters reform. That's a matter for the health department.
Thank you very much, Malcolm. Anyway, thank you for putting that. Great stuff. Right, we'll move on to someone moves that the portfolio program be received, please. Thanks, Ron, Jerry. Yeah. The one we just did, the extraordinary. Oh, okay. No. Portfolio, right. Any questions on that? Did you want to say anything about that? Carter? Do you want to say anything about that? Start to 47, page 48, 49.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, page 51, the Carnegie building report seems to go on and on and on. Are we likely to see a resolution on this in the very near future?
Carter.
Through your chair, Pat, yes, we will. The team are actively working on a comprehensive report, so when they bring the report to council, it will hopefully have all the information that you will need in order to make an informed decision. So they're still actively working on it. It's a lot of things have changed, and they are going through a very complicated process to be able to get the right information onto the report. But I can't give you a date, but they are actively working on the reports. Thank you.
On page 50, it says here we're getting a new side loader truck. It's been purchased, and the upgrading of the fencing at the transfer station. I'd just like to commend what's happened down there. It's looking really, really tidy. I had a bit of a drive through there last week, and it's the tidiest it's looked in a long time. But carrying on to page 51, the cemetery development. Was this work put to tender, or was it just given out to a contractor?
Through your chair, Pat. So this is part of the maintenance work program. So whenever there is a need to go out to market for a contractor, that happens. We go through a procurement process, but that's really around the wider program of maintaining our cemeteries.
I went down there the other day. They're making a real good job. I don't know who's doing it, but yeah, it's going to be quite a big lot there. So
other questions? No. Oh, sorry.
Page 59. I just want to, we're not got there yet, you're going to do a few more? Okay. You just wasn't reading the numbers out.
Right, we've got one there for the Ormville-Tiuri Road. Can someone move that be received? That,
Yeah.
Ron? It's not the second questions there, Ron?
Oh, thank you. Sorry, I jumped the gun a bit there. Yeah. I just want to comment, brilliant report. Fair, absolutely, yeah, fantastic. I'm sure the community out there will find this a very good one, Simone. So, yeah, thank you for what you've done. And in time, no doubt we'll get an answer. Thank you very much.
The energy efficiency and conservation authorities. Did you have to put all those in? Someone moved that that be received. Thanks, Ernie. Thanks, Sarah. Questions?
So through you, Chair Pat, we take the report as read. We've got Sarah Fontaine who may address some of your questions if you have any. But based on your the questions that you had last time during our last meeting, you inquired about the site. So Section 6.3, we have not yet received a confirmation from EECA around the selected site, so until we have a confirmation, we won't be able to disclose anything, obviously. And upon receiving the confirmation, we will prepare a report to Council with the selected sites and the next steps going forward. But the report here really just gives you a summary or an overview of what the EECA work that Sarah is progressing. And if you have any questions, we'll be happy to address. Thank you.
Sarah, would you like to say something? Oh, you can't say anything. You didn't go to the rugby at all, did you? Screaming.
Chairman Pat, just an observation. I think it's a good report. Currently we have 3 selected sites with Tiuri, Herbertville and Coomeraw. Are we likely to see more sites in the future, I guess, is the question.
So through you, Chair Pat, we have 6 sites that are on the list, and the selection of these sites will be confirmed by EECA. Thank you.
Other questions? Thank you. Right, we'll move on to the discretionary funds. Righto, we might as well start with the Dannevirke Bowling Club looking for $1,400. I move that they get half that to 700. Seconder. The New Zealand Police, this is the one I can't say much about. But,
Sorry, yeah, I jumped the gun.
I'll second it. Due to his conflict of interest.
this one's my conflict of interest. They're looking for $615.
Yeah, give him the lot.
I'll second that.
How much?
All of it.
All of it?
Yep.
The Tararua Aquatic Community Trust looking for $750. I don't know whether they've been getting quite a bit of money lately.
Yeah, I'm feeling the same way, actually. I think there's a lot of council funds that go in there. We should be given maybe half.
What do you others think?
What's on your piece of paper, Terry?
Mine's naught.
Through you, Chairman Pat, it was brought to our attention with our meeting last week that we decided to not give anything. I must have heard it wrong.
No, you're right. The funding, we've only got X amount of dollars, so correct. Sorry, I apologise.
Someone going to move? Ron? Naught? Seconded, Jerry? No, Ron, no, Jenny. Naught. Friends of the Dannevirke Domain looking for $750. I move they get half, $375. Got a seconder? Ron, thank you. The Phil Lamerson Heritage Centre Trust looking for $750. $400. A move.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay. Thank you. Dannevirke Patrol, Community Patrol, looking for
Give them the whole lot.
500. Yeah. Whole lot. Second. Who did you nominate that one? You seconded. Yeah. Dannevirke Combined Indoor Bowling Club, they're looking for $102 just for the,
Yeah, that's a lot of money. Give them the whole lot.
give them the whole lot. I'll second that. Athletic Club, looking for $225. All
Yeah,
lot.
I think all of it again. Play 3 in a row.
Okay. Have a second, thanks, Ron. The last one is the Fantasy Cave Charitable Trust. 500. I don't believe we give them anything. They're not really doing a lot at the moment, are they?
Not very operational
Operational
or
at the moment.
out there
I
doing
think we
it.
should be waiting.
And haven't they got a heap of funding already saved up somewhere?
Yeah. So I move nothing. Got a second it? Yeah. Someone move that all those things be accepted, please. Seconded. Thanks, Irina. That's it. Thank you. Right, we move on to reports. Terry.
Right, a short report from me. Mr Chairman, the Chamber of Commerce, after 5 this last month, was held at Mitre 10, which was well attended, and it was a very good meeting there. The Chamber are currently promoting a Business of the Month exercise, which is going very well, where the Chamber promotes an individual business for that particular month, and people go into a draw. The AGM was held, and they currently have one new committee member there. Moving on to the Dannevirke Community Vehicle Trust, very much business as usual for the trust, and nothing else to report there, but everything is going well as usual. And just an update on the Phil Lamison Memorial Trust. That is progressing exceptionally well since the floating of the public float of the fundraising exercise, and funds are starting to trickle in quite nicely, so things are looking well. And just to report that, yes, I did report last meeting, but Metalform is under contract now to order materials so that we hopefully will have the memorial up and running by this time next year.
Good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry. Ron?
Yeah, through you, Chairman Pat, the brass band, we've still got that situation with the historic claim for a historic claim that was put in. We were advised, like I told you last month, that they've got lawyers looking into it, and the update of it all is I've got nothing because it's progress. It is just still happening, and I still haven't heard back from the AGM. So at this stage, I really haven't got much more information to give you, but the band is in good stead.
Have they had their AGM yet?
Well, they have, to my knowledge, but I haven't got a report on it, so, yeah.
Fair enough.
The skate park committee is gearing up for our fight night in a couple of weeks. So we've all been pretty busy doing that. And we've also received the engineer's report back, so shouldn't be too far away before we get the completed designs. And I've also had a couple of meetings in the past couple of weeks with a couple of guys from Probus and also Sue from the Friends of the Domain.
Yeah. Ernie?
Yeah, with regards to AMP, the committee's had a working bee, done the crutching and the docking and all the rest of it, and we're working with this new group to have the Christmas in the park after the Christmas parade. That's about all we've got at this stage.
Okay. Thank you. Right, we've had our road safety meeting. Hooray. The other day, so we've had five fatal crashes this year, all on the 4th month, the period of the 25th of February to the 15th of May, resulted in prosecution action. So that was that. I think there's only been one accident on the new road, and wasn't in the Taurua district. It was over in the so we're still clean, so which is good. I brought up the bus stop outside the old post office up there, which I mentioned to NZTA, and they are going to look into getting rid of it. They're just going to. No one's ever mentioned it to them before, so we're going to see. But there would be around about at least 3 or 4 car parks here. But, so there's a bit to go from there. That was all.
Did
I think you might be able to help me, Andrew. Was there anything else?
Yeah, just on the note of that bus stop, I've looked at it at our side as well. We just need to make sure that it's not connected to any of the district plans or any other bits and pieces which need updating, because the schedule updates, if there is permanent parking bits and pieces, do need change there. One thing I just wanted to raise as well is that the truck unloading that's happening on Allardyce Street, there has been chatter around potentially turning some of those car parks which are just outside the restaurant into a truck unloading zone. It might be something worth considering alongside those changes to that bus stop. Might be worth catching up. I did have a few pictures in my presentation that I was going to put forward, but yeah.
Fair enough.
Are you meaning the bistro? So is that to do with the truck unloading? But is that also to do with pulling out from behind Reap as well? The problems they're having there. Okay, thank you. Can I start? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, the Allardyce Street truck problem is a real problem because there was one that was blocking the street the other day trying to turn around and behind Reap, and there's a barrier that stops high vehicles going in there. It's like, you know, obviously the signage for their unloading zone is not up to scratch, so it's probably not a bad idea with the number of trucks that deliver to those smaller businesses.
Pat. I'm just wondering, could you explain to the, you did go through, this, I've forgotten the street's name, the street that goes down to the dump. You went through that, Eastern Street, thank you, about the speed humps and the work you guys are going to be doing in that area. Thank you.
So the Eastern Street, Miller Street intersection it's been targeted for a rehabilitation for a number of years now. It's always been pushed back because there's a plan to upgrade the sewer main along there, but that project is quite far down the track. So the condition of the intersection and approach to the intersection is getting to the point now that that's something that needs to be done. So it's been flagged for the rehabilitation, for the full works for next year for either rehabilitation or resurfacing. As part of that, we will be looking at some of the discussions that have been had around the use of the street in particular. We've got the challenge with business activities essentially happening on the street. Once we work through the plan and understand what the treatment looks like, we may then we will be engaging with a couple of the businesses there to see if there's a better solution. There has been the raised speed humps put forward. That is a solution. With the speed zone changes, there's potentially going to be another session around the district just to look at what speed zones look like, because I believe it's been raised as a potential for a 30k zone in the past. So some of those things are on the radar, with particularly the rehabilitation. If it's a rehabilitation, it's going to get some extensive work, and there could be some modifications done during that project, when that happens.
Ernie?
So are you currently monitoring the activity on the street? Because it doesn't seem to have improved since we had a presentation in December about the business operations that are happening down there, and I went down there in the weekend to have a good look at the transfer station, which, like I said before, was in amazing condition. But the access on the street is like there's so much clutter. Nothing's changed in 9 months.
Thanks, through you, Chairman Pat. That's a regulatory process which isn't the Tararua Alliance, and that's currently underway.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, just one question. Prior to your road safety meeting, I did raise the point for discussion of reducing the speed limit on Adelaide Road, since we do have a number of walkers there, from 70k to 50k. Was there any discussion on this matter?
I brought that up quite a few years ago, the same thing. It measures across. You probably know more about this, Andrew. When you measure a road across, it gives you the speed limit that can be done. It's got to be a certain width, is that right?
There are dynamics that are considered with regards to road width and speed. One, we're going through a bit of an exercise right across the district now to review our road hierarchy and where they sit in terms of level of service. So probably one thing around the speeds, you might be aware that NZTA and the government basically, the government essentially through the GPS have made some big changes to how speed zones are managed. Hence why the plan across the country essentially was, 2022, I believe, 2020. there was a whole wealth of speed changes going on. They've been all undone essentially, and anything from basically 2020 to now, all the speeds have had to revert. We were lucky that we didn't implement the speed zone changes, I suppose, as actively as some of the other councils, and we haven't had to undo anything, but it does leave a lot of the speed zone changes that were planned as part of the original concept up in the air. We're going through the session to do the school speed zones now because that's mandatory, and on the back end of that with the new council coming in, it's wise that we consult with the council first to see what their directive is in terms of actually what they want to do with speed zones across the country, because it needs to be across the district, because it needs to be a district-wide approach rather than a scattergun approach, which the requests have been coming through. So we'll work through that process essentially to determine how speed management happens, I suppose, with the new council.
Also, while you're there, the road, the indicator, the speed indicator on Smith Street, that hasn't been up and running. It's there, but it's not running. Were you going to check up on that for us?
So I've been emailing Grant, our urban supervisor, this morning, which I noted it in the document. He said there's supposed to be there's some technical stuff going on with it. They need to get some repairs done to it. So I'm trying to find a time frame for that. But yeah, once I know, I'll let you know.
Thank you. Did you say something?
Through you, Chairman Pat, is it because it's a 2017 model? Because I just happened to be walking by and I wasn't due to listen in on this, but they were talking that loud and they said that it was the problem is because it's a 2017 second-hand machine, which is great if it saves money for the council, but I don't know. But I did hear the technicians say that, so for what it's worth.
Thank you. Someone's put the valedictory speech on the agenda, and I don't know what that's all about, but most young people would have a phone and they'd read it off their phone, but I'm afraid a lot of people have typing work too, and they'd read it off there. But I had to handwrite my valedictory speech, so here goes, see what happens. Anyway, it's with privilege that I stand here today for the final time as chairman of the Community Board. As I reflect on the years that we've worked together, I feel both a deep sense of pride and gratitude. Serving the Dannevirke community has been one of my greatest honours. Together we have faced challenges, celebrated milestones and made real progress for the people who call this area home. None of this could have been achieved without these people around this table. To my fellow board members, Terry, Ron and Ernie, thank you each for what you have brought, your own strengths, perspectives and passion for service. Our differences have been our strengths, and shared commitment has always been to put the community first. To our councillor representative, Erna, your guidance, support and connection with the council has been invaluable and have helped us bridge the community voices with the decision makers, ensuring that the concerns were not only heard but acted upon. To Mayor Tracy, thank you for your leadership, your advocacy for communities like ours, and for always reminding me of the bigger picture we are contributing to. I also want to acknowledge the Te Aroha District Council staff who have been an essential part of everything that is achieved, in particular Ali and Simon. Your professionalism, support and willingness to go the extra mile has made my role so much easier and so much more rewarding. And finally, to the wider community of Dannevirke community, thank you for trusting me with your input, your questions, and sometimes your challenges have kept me grounded and accountable. I am here because of you, and I was here for you. As I step down, I leave with confidence in the future. I know the next board will continue to thrive, to serve with the heart, make the decisions and strengthen our community for years to come. It has been an honour and a challenge and a joy to serve as chairman. Thank you for all walking this journey with me. Thank you.
Well done, well done. Just before you close the meeting though.
We've got a little bit more to go.
Oh, good man. Well, I just want to say congratulations on the what you've done for the community. Thank you.
No, that's all.
And from me too, Pat, thank you for your leadership. Thank you for the projects that you've brought to the community board, and they have been numerous over the last 6 years or 9 years. And yeah, we wish you well for the future. Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, I'd also like to add to that. 3 years of highs and lows. Sometimes we've had a few disagreements, but you know, the main problem we've had is lack of funding, which wasn't our doing. It was slashed by council, reduced, cut in half. But to be effective, you know, we've had 6 months, 8 months where the same old things are going on and on and on, and things are on the agenda and don't seem to happen. And if it wasn't for the passion that this community board has shown and the determination for us to get it done and the volunteers in the district, I've actually got a going away present for you, because 2 of my favourite projects that we undertook were the removal of the concrete on High Street footpath, the cutting off of the poles in Ruahine Street. So that's my going away present for you. But yeah, thank you very much for your leadership and your patience and understanding. And you've growled me a few times, but it's been a pleasure working with you.
Thank you, Pat. I just wanted to say it's been really great working with you, and I've really enjoyed our discussions, and we'll miss you. And I hope you have a good break from community board and council in general, and all the best.
I'll go back to the gym now. Or if Tracy comes with me.
Thanks, Chairman Pat. I think that was one of our very special moments when you and I were the only ones in the gym, and Erin walked in and the look on her face was priceless. I concur, and Pat, what you've demonstrated with the community board is actually some of the things that can be achieved without funding that go above and beyond, you know, finishing that flag project off, getting those up, and I'm really excited. We should have those flags up this week and the town's going to look spectacular, but your work into the Spring Festival over a number of years really does make a difference, and I hope you get to enjoy that. The parts, for me, you've gone out into the community, you know, out to Akatio, to their annual general meeting, to Herbertville, to, you know, to Wimbledon. You've gone out into those remote communities of the Tararua district and of the Dannevirke area and served them as well, and that's been, you know, that has been a real highlight, travelling to some of those with you. And I reflect back on the work that the community board did during Cyclone Gabrielle, and thank you very, very much for that. And, you know, one of mine, you know, first going out to have a look at the roads at Herbertville with you, Pat, and coming sort of across that bit of a slip, and I hopped out of the vehicle to take the photos, and I said to Pat, you stay there, because if that thing goes, you know, you're my lifeline. So we've travelled a few journeys together, and I've really enjoyed it. I'm really pleased that when we were singing Country Roads at the Christmas festival, to our relief, the microphones weren't working, so there was a little bit of honour and dignity. I still have five road cone hats if anyone would like to borrow them. But your contribution to keeping everyone informed through the Dannevirke radio has also been much appreciated, and getting that communication going. And I think a little bit the time capsule was a bit of a journey when we couldn't find it and found out that it was plastic. So, you know, the community board have had some great times, you know, led through some really challenging times in this district and worked together to achieve for the, you know, for the community. So I think there is a lot to be proud of, and I certainly remember, you know, hosting the Ross Shield, you know, in your 2 terms. There's been some significant events, the King's coronation, and a lot of memories there that you've contributed to and made a positive difference. So you've given a lot of time, as have all the members here. So thank you very, very much for your service. And Pat, I do have a small gift for you from the district, just to remember, you know, when you've been out over the road and enjoyed that as well. So there's a book for you on the Minawatu Gorge. So we will see you around, and I'm more than happy to continue taking you out to some of those places.
Thank you very much. Also, you mentioned the radio. I'll go back on the radio. And my first point of call will be to get Malcolm on the radio to let Dannevirke know where he comes from and what he's doing. So you'll be getting a call. Right, move on. Where are we up to? Yeah, just on the flags, they have picked the flag tracks up from, thanks to Simone and Tracy for doing that for us. I think they've got the hint that we wanted them out of there and not up. So, but I'll have to call on the rest of you when the tracks go up, that we need to be there for putting the flags up. So, you know, so if you can all, you'll just get the, could happen any time. So if we can all just make sure we're there. Right, items not on the agenda. Right, the speed, that, I suppose we've covered that one, have we? No, sorry.
Through you, Chairman Pat, like I said at the beginning, I've got the document here, or the letter we've got from the Kura kaupapa. So if we can have a quick look at this as a community board before we disband, not during the meeting but afterwards, to put in the submission, because we've only got to the 18th. And the short notice is only that it's just, I got involved with it last week. Yeah. So that would be good, please. Do I need to make a motion, or we can just do it?
Might pay to make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we put in a submission for Kura kaupapa on the speed limits past the school.
Got a second?
I'll second that.
Good. Any? All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Right, rates. Ernie?
Yeah, I don't know how other people feel, but these targeted rates are just incredible. I've got on mine, it's like $277 for commercial recycling targeted rate, and it's only $107 for the roading rate. I would think that roading's far more important than recycling. I don't even use recycling. I burn all my stuff. So I think some of these rate settings are pretty unfair.
No, nothing.
Through you, Chairman Pat, can I attempt to get some information or some explanation around the targeted rates for yourselves, if you wish me to do so? That's about all I can. I won't be the right person. I'll have to connect you with the right person who'll be able to answer your questions. So I'm happy to do that.
And the footpath.
after our visit last Thursday with the scooter club, Rangatani Scooter Club, and we got the privilege of riding around on mobility scooters, which is a little bit ahead of schedule, even though I've got a gold card. But yeah, no, it was pretty exciting to be offered the chance to skid around. But when it gets to footpaths, we had Mr. Trevor Bennett, who used to be part of a consultancy, leading the pack, identifying the problems. I think we need to put forward that we need some reassurance that this footpath problem is going to be taken care of. There was supposed to have been $150,000 added to the footpath budget. Can we ask that some priority is given to what was identified last Thursday?
Further to that, Mr. Chairman, yeah, it was an interesting exercise last Thursday, and maybe Andrew can give some light or throw some light on this problem, where we have a bit of a demarcation line where the ratepayer is required to fund their access into it. How can we manage this, and how can we ensure that some of these entrances are properly maintained, because they are quite dangerous for people on mobility scooters and walkers as well.
Andrew?
Yeah, thank you. So as you're aware, the NFC funding, we took a significant hit in the footpath maintenance and renewals budget, whereas for the maintenance in particular, we lost essentially $1 million on what was in the previous NLTP. The $150,000 essentially is to top up the available funds across it's essentially for this financial year. So for this 3-year block, we've got $640,000 to spend on footpaths. Add the $150,000 on it, on top of it that was approved. It still doesn't go very far. So we're working through just building a bit of given we've got such a tight budget, we're working to build up a bit of a strategy to how we address this. The ownership of vehicle entranceways is a topic that's been discussed for decades, I suppose. Maybe not decades, maybe as far as I'm aware of in the role. Yes, it is a topic that we need to tread carefully a little bit with. The vehicle entranceways can be broken down into two components. There's the actual bit that comes from the curb to the essentially where the footpath component of is. The funding that we're going to work through this year is going to be targeted to fix the footpath component only of it, because essentially to delineate between the vehicle damage and the pedestrian safety, we're drawing a bit of a fine line. So we're going to be workshopping that essentially with the new council, how we address that, because it is going to be I suppose it does have impacts on how we do the repairs. One thing to note, the repairs that we will be doing are basically skim coating the existing surfaces rather than rebuilding the whole vehicle entrance or the footpath component, because we just don't have the funds to do the whole the permanent repair.
So, through you, Mr. Chairman. So, Andrew, will the ratepayer be liable for that maintenance work? And the other question is, of course, is the culverts. In some areas, the culverts get damaged, and as a result, we end up with flooding on the roads. How can we manage that?
So, NZTA currently fund us to repair the footpaths. So between what's considered the footpath and the vehicle entranceway, we do get funded to do the footpath, and we got that was one that we got raised in our technical audit by NZTA, is we need to still be repairing the footpath component of the vehicle, of what is the vehicle crossing. In terms of the drainage, it is a similar thing where the drainage is being compromised. Essentially, the vehicle, it needs to be rectified to provide that functional drainage system. There is, I suppose, various different tools within the councils, in the Local Government Act, that essentially allows council to recover costs, and it's just how we work through it, because essentially this is probably a hangover of years and years and years of do we, don't we. Unfortunately, with this lead into this NLTP, council approved funding to actually go in there and address it, but NZTA obviously didn't approve the funding to allow us to follow through with that. So I say it's work in progress. We will be presenting it through with the new council to strategise how we do this. But essentially, NZTA expect us to take some steps, and it's just how we manage the other side of that, which is the non-footpath component of the vehicle entranceway, essentially. But, yeah.
Through you, Chairman Pat, yeah, it was a great adventure on the scooters, but to help you maybe in the job and the council, we're all known about CRMs. There'd be a fair few to be put in, so to show the scooter club that we're concerned, they gave me a map and it highlighted just what we went on. And it was horrific. Some of them are quite horrific. And I remember, was it 3 years ago, we had that footpath inspection. That gentleman went up and down every street in the town. So would it be best for me to go back to the scooter club and tell them to start putting in CRMs to help you start the paper trail? Or and also they brought up to the attention, if you were a person with a pram, good luck to you, let alone a walker. So this is what came out of it. And it was a very constructive thing the community board did get involved with, I must say. But so should I be telling them to fill in a CRM, or what would you advise?
If we know the hot locations, like the inspection, given what I've seen around the condition of some of those essentially vehicle entranceways / footpath, yes, I can 100% probably pick the ones that they're going to be talking about. If they do have some information in terms of a map, we can correlate it against what we've actually got in our database for repairs. But I suppose we don't want to. We're not going to be doing this on our own, essentially. And if there is input we can get from other people, it would be valuable, because the funding doesn't stretch across the whole to repair everything we would like to do. So it's going to be very targeted towards the immediate safety issues that are out there. So CRMs, we have a lot of it catalogued already. The digital inspection that you're probably referring to, that has picked up a lot of that information, and we do have, I suppose, the data. And for now, I suppose CRMs is just going to take time and consumption for inspectors to go out and respond to it, but we want to do this in a very managed way, so we don't have that scattergun approach and potentially repair lower priority ones. We've got some very high priority crossings out there.
So on towards the end of our little tour, we ended up at the new roundabout build at Victoria Avenue, Queen Street intersection. The new roundabout with the speed humps and everything, the scooter club was concerned that the footpath potentially should have gone across the speed hump. If there'd been a bit more design thought put into it, that would have been an ideal place to cross. With a little bit of extension to the existing footpath, it would be a lot safer for the mobility people, especially to be on the raised surface for the crossing. So that's maybe something you could look at in the future when you're designing new things, like just coming from the elderly people that use these scooters, and especially Trevor Bennett. He sort of said that, back in our day, we might have put the two jobs together. So something to look at later on, Andrew.
Well, that's it, people. Thank you very much for your attendance. And sorry.
Thank you, Chair Pat. There was a comment from Board Member Ernie around the Town Hall sign and whether we can switch it off. So I'm assuming it's a simple matter of locating the switch and switching it off. But I just would like to remind you, as a community board, that at the last meeting, you agreed to take it on as a project. So we can switch it off, but what will you do with it is your project, so we can determine how we can take it down, or you can determine how you can take it down safely and what we do with it. So that's just as a reminder, that's a project that's sitting with the community board. If you'd like us to switch it off, I can organise that, but it's just really thinking about what will you do with the sign afterwards. Thank you.
Well, if we're breaching the NZTA rules and it's our sign, I don't know what Andrew thinks, but I think we should turn it off, shouldn't we?
I mentioned it to the NZTA the other day at the road safety meeting, and they didn't really know much about it, so I don't know what's going on there. So I think we're... Tracy?
Thanks, Chair Pat. I think your challenge is around having a system that works with councils to keep that operational, and whether that could be looked at potentially as part of that project with the sign, if there's any other way that can be kept going. Yeah.
Yeah, through you, Chairman Pat, I thought we decided to turn it off and remove it. Wasn't that correct?
At your August meeting, the board resolved that we would be removing that sign. It's not as simple, we can't actually operate it at the moment. To make it operational, even just to turn it off, we would have to set it up on a separate standalone system, because it's not running on our systems and we can't connect it to our systems because of where it's being operated from. The vendor no longer supports it, so the software is not supportable anymore. And so the decision was made that we would remove it, and the board, would look at other locations and other types of signs about whether it could be reused. But yeah, we do need to have it taken down from where it is so that we can disconnect it from the power and everything.
So do we need a working beats?
Through you, Chairman Pat, through health and safety, but we need to get the appropriate people to, and I think we could ask the council if they could organise that, because we've made a decision to get rid of it and turn it off. We can't go out there and undo it. So, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, it's not a simple process. I mean, you're going to need a hire or something to lift the thing off anyway, so there's going to be quite a bit of work involved in that. There was a lot of work, as you and I know, when we put it up, so... yeah, so that needs to be organised.
Through your chair, Pat, that's precisely it. So if we are agreeing to remove it, switch it off and remove it, then I'll talk to the teams to see how we can do that safely under the health and safety guidelines. Thank you.
Thank you very much, people, for coming. Thank you for the Hamish and Malcolm. Good to see you. So, Dave, you can get back down the stairs now. Thank you, and I declare the meeting closed.